Hi, everyone, and welcome to MLS 5360 Leadership on the Border. I'm your instructor. My name is Arthur Aguirre. You can call me Dr. Aguirre, Dr. Art, Dr. A, Art, Arthur, whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm always excited to teach this class. It's something we only offer I think typically we've only been offering in the spring. And the way I approach this class is that I've tried to focus much of my attention, especially in the very beginning, on describing the people and the history and the culture along the border, right? Discussing kind of like the inextricable link between Mexico and the U.S. and how everything kind of comes together here in El Paso and along the entire border here between Mexico and the U.S. Because it's critical to understand all of those things, right? Really to understand that relationship in order to best serve and lead in this area. So go ahead and get started. We'll be using this beginning introduction or this beginning video as an introduction to the course. Here's all my contact information. My office hours for this semester are Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 2 to 4 p.m. I will be in my office, which is in Kelly Hall 220, but I will also be on Zoom, which you can find the link on our website or on Blackboard. And if those office hours don't work for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and figure out another time for us to meet, whether it's after work or just whatever time you might meet or might be more convenient for you. That's my email address. Please make sure you use that and not the Blackboard messaging function. Just it's much easier for me to see your emails and respond kind of in real time via my phone than it is for me, logging in and checking my messages on Blackboard. So if you need to reach out to me and schedule a meeting or have any questions, just go ahead and use my UTEP email address. Okay, so as I mentioned, this course talks about or focuses in on the relationship between U.S. and Mexico, understanding the culture that is created when you're bringing all these different peoples and cultures together, and the best way that you, once you're in a position of power, how you can lead in the area. Because of the nature of the course, I wanted to bring in as many voices as I could, so I don't have a textbook for the course. I know some folks have been wondering, some people even reached out to me, but instead we use there is some excerpts from a Chicano handbook for the first few weeks of the course, and then after that I just bring a bunch of different articles and chapters from various scholars to cover the material that I think that is best suited to kind of set you up by the end of the semester for leading in the area. So the only thing you really need for this course is an internet connection, your UTEP email, and access to Blackboard. So as I mentioned, Blackboard is where we're going to be doing everything. That's where I'll be uploading your assignments. That's where you will be uploading your assignments. That's where I'll be uploading your grades. That's where all of the readings will be available. All my lectures will be available on Blackboard. In terms of participation, as long as you're turning your assignments in on time and participating fully on your discussion board and your responses, you're going to be just fine. In terms of diversity, I know conversations around the border, around immigration, can be heated. I want to make sure that we are understanding that we are having adult conversations, and by adult I mean just being mature in these conversations, that we're arguing ideas and not identities, that we don't resort to any name calling. Any kind of disrespect is not going to be tolerated in the course. And I want to make sure we understand that I am teaching from a pro-immigrant stance. It is impossible to look at the history and the people and the relationship between the U.S. and Mexico and how it has created the current border culture that we have without including the voice and the identities of immigrants. So whatever feelings you may have about immigration in general, and I think people on all sides of the spectrum can agree that immigration policies need to be changed and addressed, but this course is taught from a pro-immigrant stance in terms of the critical role they play and the critical kind of identities they have. I mean, they're critical parts of the border. And so just want to make sure we understand that. So keep that in mind. That also in terms of our online etiquette, when we're having discussions, make sure you're talking respectfully to your course mates. In terms of ADA accessibility, if you haven't already, if you need any accommodations, please reach out to CAS, and they'll reach out to me to make sure we're accommodating you as best we can, to make sure that you are as comfortable and have all the necessary accommodations needed to succeed in the course. If you've taken a course with me before, I think none of this is anything new. I typically don't like accepting late assignments, but if there's something that comes up, please make sure you just communicate with me, so we can kind of figure out the best possible solution. Grade appeals. That means if you're upset with your grade, wait 24 hours before you start getting upset with me, and then after that, you have 7 days to reach out to me to kind of figure out what we can do to address a grade. All that being said, I want to make sure that you know that I'm available to you all for whatever you need. I don't want you to ever feel like you have to resort to plagiarizing or cheating in any kind of way to succeed in the course. This is a graduate level course. I think it's why, in my belief, we're beyond tests, we're beyond quizzes. We're really just focusing on the exchange of ideas. So as long as I see that you're an active participant in class, you're working hard on your discussion posts and on your assignments, you're going to be just fine. You don't have to resort to cheating or plagiarizing. That said, I need the only way I can know if you're struggling in the class is if we have good communication. If you come to me at the end of week 7 telling me that you haven't turned any of your assignments in and you want to know how to get an A, that really doesn't help. Like both of us are in a rough situation if that's going on. But if after the first couple of weeks you get your grade back on your discussion board and you're not happy with it, we can have a conversation about what I'm looking for and what how to improve that grade. Or if you have questions about the mid-semester assignment or the final paper, reach out to me ahead of time or as you start slowly working on those assignments, so that way we can figure out and make sure you're on the right track. And my expectations for work is just making sure that you're putting the best possible effort in this class, that I know that you're delving into the material. I know academic journal articles can be a little bit heavy. They're sometimes not as accessible as some textbook where you have the highlighted words and the definitions you can kind of fall back on. So I understand that. I hope you take your time kind of pulling the most important parts from the readings that I've assigned every week. This course is basically real heavy on reading, a big focus on the discussion boards, and then your final paper. So just make sure you're prepared for that. All of the readings are already available. It's just the lectures and the discussion boards that don't release until the beginning of every week. They release at midnight on Sundays. But if you want to get ahead on the readings, all of them are available to you right now. You can log in, and all the readings from week 1 to week 8 are already available for you. So in terms of your assignments, we have Blackboard discussions, right? So you have to make sure you have the 8 weeks of those. You have to you have to post your original response by Wednesday and 2 responses to your classmates by Sunday, except for the first week of class, because it starts on a Monday. I wanted to give you a little bit extra time. So you have to have your original post in by Friday on week 1, still have your responses by Sunday. But every week after that, starting with week 2, original post on Wednesday, responses by Sunday. We have your participation grade, which should be an easy 100 points for everybody, kind of gives you a little bit of a buffer. We have our mid-semester assignment, which I'll go over next. That's worth 200 points, and then you have your final paper. With your mid-semester assignment, you have a few options. I wanted to kind of open it up for a bunch of different learning styles. So your options are you can do a leadership interview, right? Find a local leader and interview them, and it should be someone who's in a prominent role who is leading at least some type of an organization. It can't just be, a family member. I know that's often more convenient, but it should be someone who is a leader in the community. If you happen to know someone who's related to you who happens to be a prominent leader in the community, by all means, but it just can't be someone that you know out of convenience. A leadership demonstration, if you've taken one of my courses before, you know what these are all about. Essentially, if we were meeting in person, a leadership demonstration would mean 1 week out of the class, you lead the discussion. So some folks decide to do like a PowerPoint presentation and go over some of the key concepts from the readings. They do some discussion questions, they do some activities, a number of different things. But instead of doing all that in person, you're going to kind of do something very similar, but doing it online. So you record yourself on video, upload it to YouTube or whatever video streaming or hosting platform, and upload it to Blackboard. But it's up to you on what you want to cover. You can cover any of the readings from any of the weeks that we have. And it's up to you on how you want to cover that material, whether you want to do an activity, whether you want to just do a straight PowerPoint. It is completely and totally up to you on how you want to handle that. If you want to get other people involved, you're more than welcome to do that. For those folks who just like writing better, you can just do a local leader profile, right? Kind of figure out who this person is, kind of give a background on who they are, and what makes them, kind of talk about the different characteristics and activities and behaviors that have made them a good leader. And then lastly, your option is to create your own assignment. If none of these really speak to you, but there's something that you're kind of interested in or think that might work, then reach out to me within the first couple of weeks of class. Kind of pitch me your idea, and we can work through it to make sure I think it's meeting the criteria for fitting a final assignment, or a mid-semester assignment. So those are your options for your mid-semester assignment. And lastly, we have the final paper. Okay, so 10 to 12 pages, that's 10 to 12 pages of writing. That doesn't include your cover page, your references. 5 to 8 sources. 4 of those have to be academic journal articles, because you're allowed to use any of the articles we use in class. That's why it's 4 instead of typically in my other courses I only ask for 2. But 2 of those articles have to be articles that were not part of our reading list. It has to be properly formatted, either APA or MLA format. If you're using APA, you do not have to use an abstract. And the question you're answering for this final paper is, what characteristics, traits, and/or approaches are necessary to successfully lead an organization or team that operates on the U.S.-Mexico border? It's a pretty general question, but there's a number of different ways that you can approach it, and there's a number of different kind of facets of leading on the border that you can include for your final paper. But that's basically the structure of the course, right? You have your discussion board, mid-semester assignment, class participation, and then your final paper. Please just know that I'm here for whatever you need, whatever questions you may have. I try to provide you with as many resources as possible on Blackboard, but if those aren't sufficient, or if you have other questions, please just reach out to me and we can figure things out. When reading these articles, please take your time. I know there are some Spanish words that are in there, and I'm not assuming that everybody knows how to speak Spanish. So I would make sure if you come across a word, whether in Spanish or in English, that you're not familiar with, take the time to look it up to understand kind of what the scholar was getting at. Like I said, there's a lot of reading depending on the week, so don't focus on the details. Focus on understanding the broad and larger ideas from each of the readings. So that's it for the course. Like I said, I'm very much looking forward to teaching this, to interacting with you all. If you have any questions, please reach out, and I look forward to a great semester with you all.